Hi, I'm Emily Ann, and this is my husband, Kenji Fujioka.
Hi.
I asked Kenji to come in and speak with our class because he has some experience working on film sets. So I wanted everybody to hear a little bit about his experience, just some firsthand background experience. So Kenji has a diploma from
the School of Audio Engineering.
Yep, in New York City. So I have a list of questions here, and I'm just going to ask a couple, and we'll kind of see where this takes us. So my first question is, what was your title on set?
I had a couple different titles depending on which set we're talking about. First, I was a boom operator, and then second, I probably was the sound mixer.
Okay, so what were the duties of these jobs? What did they entail?
So as a boom operator, my main job is to handle the boom. So the boom is a long pole, maybe 15 to 20 feet long, that the microphone is attached to at the other end. So I'm holding one end of the pole, and the other end there's the microphone, and I'm putting that into the best spot I can find so that it's picking up the dialogue or whatever sound I'm trying to pick up in the best way without getting into frame.
And I've had the experience of also holding a boom, and it is heavy. It is not a light thing to hold. So you're holding this while scenes are happening and while there's action and while they're filming.
Sometimes you have to be moving along with action. Sometimes a scene could be taken 15 minutes long or something like that, and you're just sitting there.
Well, holding the boom, if you want to use this as an example of how do you want it to...
So one of my main jobs is making sure that the boom is not coming into frame. Oftentimes I'll ask the camera department for a frame line, and what they're telling me is that let's say this thing is the boom, or I'm sorry, if this thing is the mic, if that's the frame line, I want to be there. I just want to be just out of frame. If it's dipping into frame, that's not good.
Yep.
So
ruin the shot.
Yeah. Don't want to do that.
No way. So, and the duties of your other title.
As being a sound mixer, my job is to man the controls for the recording equipment. Oftentimes I'll have my headphones on and I'll be totally in the world that the microphones are picking up, and I'm just looking for clarity of sound, making sure that the dialogue is nice, crisp, and clean. I can hear everything, making sure there's no extra noises that I don't want to be picking up, and making sure that all those levels are captured as best as they can be onto my equipment.
Great. So, which leads us into our next question. So we went from the duties, so along with, in this vein, what's the equipment that you used within each of these jobs?
Okay. I'll start first, I guess, with being a boom operator. I guess everything, boom operator or sound mixer, the things that you're really working with are microphones and recording equipment.
Sure. And
then the cables and things to kind of connect all that stuff together. So as far as microphones go, the main two types of microphones that I'm working with are something it's called a hypercardioid or a supercardioid microphone. Usually these things are around about, somewhere around about that long, maybe like 8 inches, a foot long or something like that. And they have a hypercardioid or supercardioid pickup pattern. What this means is that if my fingers represent the microphone, if this is the front of the microphone, I'm pointing it in this direction, I only pick up, for the most part, sound that's right in front of it. So I can point it at you and just hear you. If I'm behind it, you're not going to hear anything. Another microphone that we often use are lavalier mics. These are small, little mics that you can kind of clip onto people's lapels or something like that.
Sure.
They can also be kind of wireless. And
do you have an example when you used a lavalier mic?
Oh, sure. I used a lavalier mic once. I was recording a scene inside of a car, and I couldn't get the boom into the car.
Right. That'd be a challenge.
The dynamics of the shot made it so that I couldn't sit in the back seat and kind of hold the mic in between them because too much of the car was exposed. So I hid one of the lavalier mics in the visor of the car.
That's great.
It's kind of small. It's out of the way. The camera wasn't going to see it.
But it's different from the boom, where the boom has to be pointing directly at something in order to gather the sound. By using one lavalier, it could gather the sound from inside the car.
Yeah, the pickup pattern is different on a lavalier. The pickup pattern on a lavalier is usually omnidirectional. So the field that the microphone can receive sound from is all around it, as opposed to the boom mics that have the pickup pattern is pretty much right in front of it.
Great. And so what do you record this sound onto then?
Oh yeah, so as a sound mixer, I'm usually working with the recording devices themselves. I guess when I first started out, I was using something called a Nagra. This is an older, now it's kind of archaic, analog tape machine, a reel-to-reel tape machine that records to analog tape. You can get like 4 tracks or something like that simultaneously on those. As I progressed and the industry changed a little bit, I guess, I moved on to DATs. These are digital audio tapes. And it's still a tape, but instead of recording an analog signal, it's recording a digital signal onto that tape. And the tapes are kind of small, and it just made for a more compact mechanism. And then eventually we moved on to recording directly onto a hard disk. And those things, machines can get really small, and much lighter, and a lot less equipment to lug around, and tapes to exchange, and I guess discs getting full, but it's a little bit easier.
Great. Great. So within the class, our text touches upon sound recording, sound editing, and sound mixing. And so I just wanted to hear your take on those 3 pieces of this kind of puzzle here.
Sure. So sound recording is the actual recording of the sound. This can be done in post-production or pre-production, or post-production or production. I mostly dealt with production sound, recording on set.
You were mostly in your jobs always fell into the recording piece of it, right?
Yeah, production recording. So being on set, recording the dialogue of the actors in the scene, recording any kind of wild sounds of the environment there on set. Then there's, this is sound recording, capturing the sound. And it's sound editing. It would be altering or affecting the sound that is recorded.
Great.
Or, I guess, any kind of sound that might be a sampled clip or something like that. But somehow affecting it. Various forms of effects or equalizers or filters or anything to kind of either pull away things that you don't want or boost levels that you are more looking for. Something like that would be an editing process.
Sure. And then mixing.
And mixing, in any one given scene, there might be, I don't know what professionals kind of have probably hundreds of tracks on any one scene. Listing like the dialogue and the sound effects and the score and all these things that are going into making up the audio track, the finished audio track. And the sound mixer is the guy who's trying to balance all those levels.
Okay.
There's the dialogue and the score is riding underneath that, but it can't be too loud so that it drowns out the dialogue. And then there's a sound effects of an explosion or something like that.
So it's finding the balance within all of those pieces?
Yes.
Excellent. And then I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about your favorite use of sound in a film. It could be an effect or...
I think my favorite sound in film is a sampled sound, a sampled audio clip called the Wilhelm scream. It's a famous scream that's used in hundreds of movies.
Yeah, and it sounds like?
It sounds like, ah!
With the fallback.
With the fallback, yeah. I think I'm sure it's in all the Star Wars films. It's in the Indiana Jones films. I think George Lucas really likes the use of it.
He's a big fan.
Yeah. And once you hear it and you get familiar with it, you just find it in so many more films. Every now and then I'm like, that's the Wilhelm scream. That's great. It's great.
So we'll post an example of the Wilhelm scream for you, just so that you can, even though Kenji's rendition was fabulous, we'll post another example for you so you can really hear what it sounds like. And you'll start to pick it up in all the films that you're watching now, mainly action films. You'll start to hear that scream. So, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have any questions for Kenji, I have direct access to this guy. So feel free to send me an email. I can pop it directly to him or get an answer for you. Okay? So have fun with week 4. We're halfway done. Congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.